I'm Ian Thorpe, and tonight's program is about an idea that is so good, I wish I could say I thought of it myself. But it's the brainchild of Jack Manning Bancroft, who at 19 started a plan to help disadvantaged kids finish school. Now at 26, he's one of Australia's youngest CEOs. He wears a t-shirt and hoodie one day, a suit and tie the next day, when he has to deal with the big end of town. This is Jack Manning Bancroft's amazing story.
I remember walking in for the first dinner at Paul's College and everybody had academic gowns on, they had suit ties, they had suit jackets, and that was the world that I was set to enter as a 17-year-old walking into uni. And that whole world really left me initially feeling pretty angry and frustrated. I felt pretty angry at the privilege. I really struggled to come to terms with how we could be having, a $40,000 party at the end of the year and there'd be, a bottle of vodka sort of thrown over someone's head. When down the road, there were so many kids that had never got an opportunity. I couldn't help but feel a little bit angry when I thought back to some of the kids at Bay Eagle or some of the kids that I'd grown up with and thought, I don't even know if these people understand how lucky they are.
And anyone who did an audition for Fresh Review last Thursday night has to come see me outside the dining hall after dinner.
I think initially the whole sort of entry into Paul's could have been very alienating for Jack, because when we sat down for one of the dinners, I'll never forget it, and this lady said, "Oh, and where did you go to school?" And I went, "Tenterfield High," and it was like, and I went, "Okay," and I said to him, "Please don't invite me back to any of those dinners again."
And it was probably one of the better growing up experiences of my life. I learnt through Paul's that it was on me to get over that anger and that frustration, because if I could learn to take people not from where they've come from, but for who they are and where they can go to, then I could really take on anybody. So it was a huge lesson in empathy.
What happens in the next couple of years? These next 2 years will be the biggest 2 years of your life. We're going to play the Sydney City Track.
I think the only thing I might have said to Jack about going to Paul's was that there's a phrase, and I don't know the exact one, something like we need to walk with kings and commoners.
Budgie smugglers or boy shots?
It's all about getting people in budgie smugglers and supporting AIME.
I mean, to sit at the top table, metaphorically, to learn how to do that is probably as important to sit around the campfire, because you need to understand that the world's a complicated place.
Just in the car, about to head to Google for the launch of National Hoodie Day, so it's all happening.
He is a young man working in a very politically volatile area. He does extremely well in handling that. His ability to negotiate all ends of town, he seems to be just as comfortable working Governor's House as what he is in corporate boardrooms, as he is in school and Aboriginal communities.
Now if you chuck the hoodies on and point up to the right. G'day guys, how you going? Just here to let you know about AIME National Hoodie Day. I'm not another still picture, I'm actually speaking. Are you excited? I'm a little bit excited, so get excited.
The idea was to create a mentoring program, and so it was clear that a mentoring program for Indigenous kids would be something that could really positively affect their education and their lives more broadly. The issue is, well, how do you structure it? And university students were a great group because they were enthusiastic, but they also weren't that much older than the high school kids.
Yeah, I do. I think that's something that... It was a very simple concept that was going to produce and was producing results. And, I felt like this was something that could grow across the country, and it was something that was definitely needed. It's rare to see an individual with the energy that Jack has and the enthusiasm in this area. So for us, it was a no-brainer.
One more time. So you've nailed, you've jumped up with that day, you've gone, all right, boom, bang.
I would see him as young, driven, brash, come across even as arrogant when I first met him. When you have a 23-year-old kid coming into your office telling you that he knows how to solve one of Australia's biggest problems, you tend to think that the person telling you is very sure of themselves.
Yeah, I look at my self-belief as a really important part of who I am and what I do, and if I believe in something, I won't let any doubters get in my way. And so that may come across as brash or arrogant at times. I just think if you can't believe in yourself and believe in who you are, then you're no chance to support anybody else. Yeah, I spent most of my life in Balmain in Sydney and grew up as a Balmain boy, I suppose, and my mum's a lady called Bronwyn Bancroft, so she's a pretty successful Aboriginal artist, and my dad's a non-Indigenous guy called Ned Manning who thinks he's a bit of an actor and is a writer and teacher as well. Growing up in terms of my identity with my Aboriginality, I've never really had to question it because Mum was so proud and has always been kind of painting our stories everywhere. I was very lucky to grow up with a really driven, successful Aboriginal mother as a role model. I suppose I saw Aboriginality and success being kind of intertwined as a kid. That became the normal for me, to assume that Aboriginal people could be really successful.
That'd be really good because we're trying to get some things initiated with a whole lot of New South Wales artists.
I suppose I started to, as I got a bit older, realise that I didn't have the darkest skin in the world, and you start to sort of, I suppose, try and understand how that works with your identity. And often the conversation will be, oh yeah, I'm Aboriginal, and they go, no, you're not Aboriginal. How much are you? A quarter? And I go, oh yeah, my actual right leg's Aboriginal, and that's why I've got a good right foot step on the football field. When I was 10, Mum decided basically that she wanted to get some more inspiration for her art. She was feeling a bit flat and she wanted to go back home, which is up near Grafton. So it's about an hour inland of Grafton. There's a sort of mission called Bayugal there. It was a pretty big learning curve for me because a lot of the kids were like, oh, you're not really Aboriginal, like, you know, you're not from here, you're not Aboriginal, we don't know you.
Oh, well, it's just that he had blonde hair and he was a very fair kid. And I think that there were elements of, like, who are you and where do you fit in and how do you do it?
It was a real eye-opener for him, but I certainly think it had a profound effect on him. The things that he saw, he realised how lucky his life was.
I look at being fair-skinned and being Indigenous as, at times, I suppose it's like being an undercover cop. You hear a lot of things that you wouldn't really ever hear if you, I suppose, looked more like a traditional Aboriginal person. You just feel your heart just shatters when you hear someone going into an Aboriginal joke and you know where it's going, and you sit there and you just go, what role am I going to play here? Am I going to, really try and blow up at this person, or am I going to pick my battles, or am I going to, try and stop the whole party? The thing that motivates me to identify with my Aboriginality is that I'm part of the oldest continuous surviving culture in the world, and to be able to play a role in helping keep that alive. At school I did pretty well. I think the priority for me for most of my high school period was basically to try and play sport, and the theory was that I was going to play cricket for Australia.
Well, there was never any doubt that the children will all go to university. That was prompted by the fact that my dad didn't have a formal education. So he was in a mine, working in mines at the age of 8 with my uncles and auntie.
So ended up thinking about going to Sydney Uni, and one day Mum sat me down. It's the only time she ever sat me down to go through and apply for a scholarship. They wanted to try and get an Indigenous sort of Rhodes Scholar equivalent into Sydney Uni, and at the end of that interview process I got asked the question, you know, Jack, why should you be given this scholarship as opposed to everybody else? And I said, well, I think that's your decision, I suppose, in the end, but basically, if I get given this scholarship, I will want to put back into the community, or I want to try and do something with it. You know, that I should step up to the plate and try and make the most of this opportunity, and I want to try and do something big on top of it. When I got the scholarship, part of it was going to St Paul's College, which was probably the most prestigious college at Sydney Uni. And I had this sort of weight on my shoulders going, Jack, you're going to have to do something here, but I had no idea what that looked like yet. And when I went along to the Indigenous Uni Games, that really lit a spark in my mind. This was something that not only should Australia be able to see, but also Indigenous kids be able to see that there was physically a brighter future in front of them, that they could see, touch, feel and know somebody that had been to university, somebody that had been successful, and look at an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person and go, you know what, I don't need to just be a rugby league player or an AFL player, but I can be a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, I can be a dancer, and that's in front of me. I looked around at all the uni students that I knew who were willing to help and make something happen, and thought, you know, there could be a chance for us to connect these guys with some Indigenous high school kids in a mentoring program. I was lucky enough at the same time to bump into a guy called Tom Ward who was having a similar idea.
I was a medical student at Sydney Uni in first year, and I'd been involved in mentoring programs in the past, and it didn't go very well. And so there were a lot of lessons that we learned from a program not going well, and I felt that, you know, a lot of those lessons could be turned around and actually, you know, transformed into positive lessons to make a mentoring program work.
So basically, when you're at AIME, there's no shame at AIME, okay? So basically what we're trying to do, it's a safe place, but we can dive in and do all this sort of stuff and muck around. Because once you do it, then you can go back and you can do other things and have more confidence or whatever.
I didn't want this to be another smiley face program. I think in the charity sector or in Indigenous Australia a lot, we see these programs that come in, take a photo, everyone feels good, and then you walk away.
There's one out, it's under, that's tactical. Yeah. Now we're talking, now we're cooking with gas.
There we go, look at that.
Come on. Yeah!
This had to be about change. This had to change the norm and the way that these kids were getting through school. So we started our pilot program at Alexandria Park Community School, which was down in Redfern, and they said to us, you know, you can start the program on a Friday because kids don't turn up to school on a Friday, so that was our hall pass to get going. And the idea and the name we came up with was the Australian Indigenous Mentoring Experience, and the reason we put experience at the end was if we stuffed something up we could call it an experience, and it became AIME.
Our mentors are hectic.
We know we can trust them with anything.
We can call them for help when we need it.
And we love them.
We love them.
Getting uni students involved was really, really easy. You know, the level of goodwill amongst university students for a cause like improving, you know, the educational attainment of Indigenous high school students is enormous.
If you don't want to be 17 and pregnant and drunk, or 18 and drunk and a father, you need to start having a look at yourselves now. You need to start setting yourselves some goals.
There were all these Year 9 kids sitting there and had their arms crossed and were sort of like, all right, what have you guys got? And it was pretty awkward. It was a little bit like, you know, going on a first date or something in that experience.
You can sit down if you like. Old man, can't stand up there.
All the kids and the mentors sort of looked at us and said, all right, what do we do now? And we matched them up, and it was kind of magic the moment we had them matched up. And any educator that's ever worked in a school or anyone that's ever worked with people will know what engaged body language looks like. In that moment, at that school, looking around, I thought this is pretty special. Wow, this works.
For me, you know, because of that, I lost a lot of cultural practices. I didn't lose my culture, but I lost the chance to practice traditional culture. So for me, hip-hop is my modern-day corruption.
We had kids whose attendance were probably around 10%, 20% if we were lucky. We found that once the AIME program began, then their attendance did improve. Let's say, for example, on a Monday we have attendance rate 10%. On AIME day, we might have 60 or 70% attendance rate. Many of our kids back then would not finish year 10. So we got at least the majority of them through to year 10, and then we managed to get quite a few to do the HSC. Without the AIME program, more than likely we would have lost some of those kids.
The Australian Indigenous Mentoring Experience, or AIME, has in 2006 expanded to create a new program for Year 10 students.
It's fun to be in the AIME.
You actually have to build some intensive skill sets with these kids to give them the confidence and ability to believe in themselves.
At AIME, we have no shame because we have gained our Saint name.
AIME's not just a one-on-one mentoring program. For our kids, the way we like to think about it is it's kind of like what the Australian Institute of Sport is for athletes, we are for kids. So we drop a program on top of the school that helps an Indigenous student then progress and develop all the way through their high schooling process. And then we have a mentor at different stages supporting them through different parts of the program.
It's amazing to see young people like yourselves really wanting a difference and wanting a change and striving to be something better.
So I'd finished my uni degree at the end of 2006 and was sitting there now with pretty much a fully functioning program with 100 kids, 5 schools, programs from year 9 through to year 12, 100 mentors, and going, what am I going to do? How am I going to run this? From about 2005 to 2007, we didn't actually have a lot of funding for AIME. The time when it kind of really hit the floor and I thought AIME's not going to keep running was around that mid-2007 time, and I just thought I can't keep doing this, I'm getting sick, I don't have any money, I owe all these people this money. It's crazy. They've been remarkable people over the time that when we've really hit a wall, they've stepped up. I managed to get a meeting with Mari Bashir, who became the Chancellor of Sydney Uni at the time. Mari kind of got it, and luckily enough I got a contract to be able to run AIME full-time from Sydney Uni a few weeks later.
Well, they were doing their best, but they certainly had very little endowment. I did support Jack's requests for office space, for support in kind, and for some financial support. I do believe that this is one of the finest ideas that has been brought to us at Sydney University.
What it is, it's a bit of fun, but it's actually got a great cause behind it. It's for AIME.
I was lucky enough to then be connected to a guy called Ian Thorpe who'd done some good swimming stuff for Australia.
I'm a huge supporter of AIME and all the work that they do across this country.
And Ian managed to then open some doors for AIME and connect us with some sponsors.
I was able to introduce AIME to companies like Google and to Virgin Australia, who were more than willing to support them. For corporates who experience and go through these things a lot of the time, I think they loved the idea, they loved the concept, they loved all of the energy that was behind it, and they wanted to be associated with a program like this.
Mobile number?
3438.
And the thing started to grow, and we're now with 9 universities across 3 different states. So there's about close to 2,500 people in the organisation today.
I grew up in a small town, Broken Hill in far western New South Wales. When I was a kid and also in my early years of high school, going to university, kind of never really came across my mind. I was in year 9 actually when I got a call to come to this meeting with these 2 people from an organisation called AIME, and they were actually Paul and Jack. From the first lesson, I really realised that this was a lot of fun, it was exciting, it wasn't kind of a form of, I felt like, punishment or anything, like sit down and do this work. It was just, learn some things, but at the same time, just have a lot of fun.
I was Alicia's mentor in 2008. I was at St Andrews College. Jack came and spoke to us, told us about what he was doing, and I decided to sign up. I was really fortunate, went to a good school in the East, went on to Sydney Uni. I never faced any questions. Like, it wasn't, will I go to uni? It was just, what course am I going to do?
Yeah, I actually liked it when it just felt they were over it.
Yeah.
Can change like the depth of it.
What if you used...
You know, I'd come from this really privileged bubble where I'd never had I don't think, one conversation with an Indigenous Australian. And to me, it just seemed like, absolutely, why not do this? I really wanted to. I thought it sounded like fun.
I've never met anybody like Whitney before, anybody... If you wrote down everything on paper about Whitney, I would have never have met anybody like that in the whole 15 years of my life, and I never thought I would. So throughout the process of AIME, my attitude changed not only in the classroom, but also about my future. So after a while, you know, going from year 9, going into year 10 and year 11 and 12, my grades definitely started getting a lot better.
You're killing it. Remember me. I was like, I hope she remembers. Of course, I can't believe you remember me.
I don't think I ever for a second doubted that she would go on.
School captain.
Oh gosh.
Second year. Women's college.
I know,
Tick,
women's
tick,
college.
boom.
Very, very happy about the women's college.
I completely believed in her and genuinely portrayed that I thought she was awesome and could absolutely fit in at uni and do extremely well there. Maybe somehow that came across to her and triggered some sort of confidence that, you know what, I can do this and I would do well here.
So I'm a second year now in uni and I'm studying arts. Hopefully I want to go into law, or maybe I'm majoring in sociology. A few years ago, I definitely couldn't imagine, you know, becoming a part of this community at the Women's College. It's not something I ever imagined in my wildest dreams, you know. I'm just walking down these halls, you can feel the history and the prestige, and I'm very lucky to be a part of it. I really realised that I don't have to have a key to let me in some secret door. In reality, that key was my education, and AIME really showed me that.
So if you guys work hard here, you could potentially be going, you know, be a banker and wear a suit. I don't want to do that, but you guys might want to. Or you could end up in a place like this.
We started with 25 kids and 25 mentors in Redfern, and we're now working with close to 1,000 kids and 1,000 uni students across Australia in 2012.
You got a rap.
And we're seeing that an Indigenous kid with AIME is almost finishing school now at the same rate as every Australian kid.
You can take that, bruh. Take him back. Come on. Come on.
And this is a chance for our uni students to connect and be a part of something bigger and something better.
Shopping, let's go, shop it up.
I guess it's like reverse mentoring, you know. I had stereotypes from country friends sometimes that, you know, Indigenous people were troublemakers. I'd heard all sorts of things.
Space jump.
There's nothing like more real than two people getting to know each other and putting aside like any previous conceptions of what issues they may be facing, just being like people.
We are privileged to have in hall with us tonight Jack Manning Bancroft, sitting up on high table here.
Yeah, I actually got invited back to go to St Paul's College about a month ago to recruit mentors for this year's program, and it was a pretty weird experience to go back there.
What AIME is for you guys is the ability to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. The ability to take a step outside of the environment here and to walk down the road to Redfern, or to walk down the road to Leichhardt or Glebe and spend an hour with an Aboriginal kid.
In terms of Paul's Boys' engagement with AIME, I've always looked at them as a little bit of a barometer as how we're going with Australia. If I can engage a Paul's Boy with Indigenous Australia, I can engage anybody.
And I promise you that experience will crystallise and change your life.
I'm going to give you 5 minutes to fill out the survey. It's pretty easy.
So I'm actually at St Paul's College, just up the road. I've been at university for 4 years studying engineering. Came here straight out of school. I'm very excited to meet my mentor.
And these ones out to the kids, please. And out to the kids.
This is Hugo. Hey mate, how you doing? Hugo. What's happening? I'm good. So where you go to school? Dulwich. I've listened to Jack speak multiple times at my college, but this year I decided enough is enough. I just sign up and see what happened and stop making excuses. Sure. Do you ever go to the beach?
Yeah, I used to go to the beach a lot.
Which one?
Bondi.
I think we got on pretty well for a first start. Obviously, he's never met me before, but I think we laid some good foundations. Yeah, so we've got 13 weeks. Hopefully it just opens up his mind a little, opens up my mind a little at the same time. So it should be a really good experience.
The news was good for last year, and the cash balance, as of the time of writing this report, was 2.5 million and 42 weeks of cash in reserves.
So at age 22, I became a CEO as AIME Incorporated. To back a 22-year-old CEO, it takes a lot of courage, I think, to look beyond the actual personality and, again, not judge a book by its cover, but actually look at the product and the content of what we're trying to do.
Are the universities happier with the smaller fee?
We actually, Uni of South Australia look like they're gonna come on at that 200,000 mark, but they've got 100 grand from their schools.
Jack will often wander in a pair of board shorts, thongs and one of his hoodies on. So it brings a bit of humour to the board. It's great working with a young CEO who actually is optimistic, is actually very innovative and is also very vision-driven.
And I am very certain that I have the best mentors for 2012. So give yourselves a round of applause.
What I think makes AIME so good, it was developed and created by an Indigenous youth for Indigenous youth. And other people ask me about the program and ask me about my involvement, and I just said it's made for us, pretty much by us, and that's why I believe it's so successful. It's not someone trying to save us, it's not someone trying to tell us what to do, it's about giving us self-determination and hope.
I think Jack probably has a plan that we have to get Australia right first, and then why not AIME in Africa? Why not AIME in other countries that have similar problems? I think for someone like Jack Manning Bancroft, and I think, the world really is his oyster. He could be doing anything.
It's pretty humbling to see what AIME has done for a lot of different people. Personally, I think that it doesn't make sense today that an Australian kid who's Indigenous doesn't have the same chances that every other Australian kid has. And until I can see in Australia where that happens, I don't think I'll be happy or satisfied.
Feel your ancestors, your feet touch the ground. They're reaching up inside. Go back. Skyscrapers hang over you when it should be trees lightly blowing around you. Skyscrapers hang over you.